The information presented in this video is strictly for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional career, financial, legal, psychological, or investment advice. Navigating the modern job market involves inherent uncertainties, and individual career trajectories depend on numerous complex factors including personal skills, market demand, geographical location, technological disruptions, and broader macroeconomic conditions. Any discussion of historical trends, potential outcomes, salary trajectories, or case studies regarding online career counseling, resume writing, or digital coaching services is not indicative of future results. We do not endorse any specific platform, career coach, agency, or methodology mentioned herein. The landscape of employment law, hiring practices, and industry requirements vary significantly by jurisdiction and is subject to rapid change. Viewers are strongly advised to conduct their own thorough due diligence, research credentials rigorously, and carefully evaluate the financial and professional implications before entering into any paid agreements or contracts with online career counselors or coaching services. Your career decisions, any resulting financial or professional impacts, and your overall career trajectory are solely your responsibility. The online career counseling industry in the United States has quietly ballooned into a multi-billion-dollar machine, an ecosystem heavily unregulated, highly automated, and increasingly preying on the collective anxiety of the modern American workforce. Let us examine a very real scenario that reflects a profound and growing historical trend across the country right now. Picture a mid-level supply chain manager based in Ohio. Let us call her Sarah. After 12 years of dedicated, upwardly mobile service to a regional logistics firm, the rapid integration of advanced predictive algorithms began to streamline her entire department. Suddenly, the secure corporate ladder Sarah had meticulously climbed was dismantled, replaced by an ambiguous, flattened landscape of shifting project-based roles and outsourced data management. Feeling the immense pressure of rising inflation, a stagnant salary, and the looming threat of obsolescence, Sarah did what millions of professionals do every single day when faced with existential career dread. She turned to the internet for a lifeline. She was targeted by a sophisticated social media advertisement for a highly polished online career coach, a self-proclaimed industry disruptor promising to unlock her executive potential and recession-proof her professional brand. The required investment for this digital transformation was a staggering $7,000, payable upfront. 6 months later, Sarah was not an executive. She was transitioning out of her company, $7,000 in high-interest credit card debt, and holding a portfolio of personality test results and a beautifully formatted resume that no modern applicant tracking system seemed to recognize or prioritize. This is not an isolated incident. It is a meticulously documented and rapidly expanding pattern. Recent industry analyses indicate that up to 40% of professionals seeking lateral career transitions or promotions in the past 36 months have invested in some form of online career counseling, digital coaching, or premium resume writing service. Yet, correlative data suggests that a staggering portion of these individuals report no tangible, financial return on their investment within the first year of completion. We are looking at a system where anyone with a decent internet connection, a ring light, and a basic understanding of marketing funnels can declare themselves a career strategist. They charge exorbitant fees for advice that is often generic, historically outdated, or outright detrimental to the client's specific industry context. The shocking reality is that the very platforms and personalities designed to rescue you from career stagnation might be the exact anchors dragging you down into financial distress. They capitalize brilliantly on vulnerability. When you are facing professional displacement or deep career dissatisfaction, your critical thinking and risk assessment often take a backseat to the desperate hope for an immediate solution. You are not just buying a coaching service. You are buying the illusion of control in an increasingly unpredictable and ruthless economic environment. These platforms utilize high-pressure sales tactics masked as free strategy sessions, creating artificial scarcity to force immediate financial commitments from vulnerable professionals. But what if the metrics used to define a successful career transition have been entirely fabricated by the very people selling you the solution? What if the standard advice regarding personal branding, networking, and resume optimization is actively harming your chances of securing a position in the highly competitive 2026 labor market? Throughout this deep dive masterclass, we are going to dismantle the polished facades of the top-rated online career platforms dominating your targeted advertisements. We will expose the psychological tactics utilized in their marketing funnels, the hidden recurring fees buried deep within their complex terms of service, and the startling lack of standardized, accredited credentials among their most promoted experts. More importantly, we are going to reveal the open secret that the most elite career strategists do not want you to understand: a specific, verifiable, and data-driven methodology for career advancement that requires zero upfront capital and completely bypasses the digital coaching complex. The truth about what actually secures high-paying, resilient roles in today's shifting economy is hiding in plain sight, and it has absolutely nothing to do with optimizing your digital headline, taking another behavioral assessment, or finding your authentic workplace self. By the end of this comprehensive analysis, everything you thought you knew about professional development, job hunting, and career guidance will be permanently altered. This masterclass is meticulously engineered to solve the exact problem keeping you awake at night: the paralyzing uncertainty of whether your current career path is sustainable, and whether paying an online stranger for guidance is a strategic investment or a massive, avoidable financial error. For the American workforce navigating the unprecedented structural shifts of our current economy, from sudden corporate restructuring to the evolution of hyper-specialized contract work, blind faith is no longer a viable survival strategy. You need empirical data. You need verifiable historical trends. In this exhaustive review, we are going to provide you with the definitive step-by-step analytical framework to evaluate any online career counseling service, from massive algorithmic matching platforms to bespoke, high-ticket executive coaching programs. We will explore detailed, objective case studies of individuals who successfully leveraged legitimate digital career services to pivot into lucrative new industries, directly juxtaposed with those who fell victim to sophisticated professional development scams. You will learn precisely how to identify the critical red flags that separate legitimate, credentialed industrial organizational psychologists and seasoned human resources veterans from predatory online marketers masquerading as industry experts. We will break down the precise historical trends in the national labor market that make certain types of traditional career advice utterly obsolete today. Furthermore, we will equip you with the specific analytical tools required to conduct a rigorous self-audit. Before you even consider entering your payment information into a coaching platform, you must thoroughly understand your baseline market value, your actual technical skill deficits versus perceived weaknesses, and the realistic potential outcomes of your desired industry based on current economic data, not marketing hype. We will explore the exact probing questions you must ask a prospective career counselor during an initial consultation to instantly expose their actual competency and industry knowledge. This is not about passive consumption of motivational advice. This is about empowering you to become the most ruthless, informed, and effective manager of your own professional trajectory. We are entirely removing the guesswork, stripping away the empty corporate jargon, and delivering the unvarnished reality of the online career counseling industry. We are doing this so you can make critical career decisions grounded in hard facts, verified market data, and clear-eyed analysis, ensuring your valuable time, your emotional energy, and your hard-earned financial resources are fiercely protected and optimized for your long-term professional success and stability in a highly volatile market. To understand why this industry has become an absolute minefield, we must first examine the specific, unforgiving architecture of the 2026 United States labor market. We are living through an era of profound professional displacement. The integration of generative artificial intelligence into middle management, legal research, financial analysis, and creative sectors has fundamentally altered historical trends in corporate hiring. Companies are no longer stockpiling talent. They are aggressively streamlining. This creates a highly volatile environment where capable, experienced professionals suddenly find their specific skill sets devalued overnight. This pervasive systemic anxiety is the exact fuel that powers the modern online career counseling engine. They are not selling you a job. They are selling you psychological relief from the crushing uncertainty of the 2026 economy. Let us analyze a concrete case study to illustrate the standard operating procedure of these digital platforms. Consider David, a 42-year-old regional director of sales based in Austin, Texas. In early 2026, David's firm implemented an automated customer relationship management system that essentially rendered his oversight role redundant. Faced with his first stint of unemployment in 15 years, David encountered a sophisticated targeted advertisement on a major professional networking site. The ad featured a charismatic former corporate recruiter who spoke directly to David's exact pain points: ageism in the tech sector, the frustration of being ghosted by automated hiring systems, and the desire for executive-level compensation. The marketing funnel was a masterclass in psychological manipulation. David was invited to a free, exclusive masterclass, which was, in reality, a pre-recorded high-pressure webinar designed to agitate his fears of long-term unemployment. Following the webinar, David booked what was advertised as a free career audit. In industry terms, this is known as the discovery call, but its true function is aggressive qualification and closing. The individual on the other end of the line was not a licensed organizational psychologist or a credentialed career advisor. They were a highly trained salesperson working on commission. They utilized established psychological frameworks to extract David's deepest financial fears, calculating exactly how much cash he had in savings to determine the maximum price they could extract. They pitched a proprietary elite executive transition program. The potential outcomes presented were intoxicating. Bypassing human resources entirely, tapping into the hidden job market, and securing a position with a 40% salary increase within 90 days. The cost was $4,500, framed not as an expense, but as an urgent, non-negotiable investment in his familial stability. Imagine if you approached a medical professional with a complex, undiagnosed ailment, and without running a single test, checking your medical history, or understanding your specific biology, they immediately charged you $5,000 for a generic, mass-produced multivitamin, claiming it had historically cured every disease known to man. You would immediately recognize this as malpractice. Yet, this is precisely the standardized delivery model of the high-ticket online career coaching industry. When David wired his severance money, he anticipated bespoke, strategic guidance. Instead, he was granted access to a generic, poorly organized digital portal containing 10 hours of pre-recorded video modules. The revolutionary advice consisted of elementary instructions on how to use standard networking websites, a list of supposedly powerful action verbs to paste into his resume, and access to a chaotic community messaging board filled with hundreds of other unemployed professionals equally desperate for a breakthrough. The personalized coaching he paid for manifested as a single one-hour group video call per week. In these calls, the self-proclaimed expert would spend 45 minutes delivering a generalized motivational monologue about maintaining a positive mindset and manifesting corporate success, leaving perhaps 15 minutes to rapid-fire answer questions from the dozens of anxious clients on the screen. There was no deep analysis of David's specific transferable skills. There was no strategic introduction to industry gatekeepers. There was no rigorous market testing of his professional narrative. He had paid premium executive prices for a standardized, templated digital product that offered no more strategic value than a free article found through a basic internet search. This case study is not an anomaly. It is the fundamental business model sustaining the majority of highly visible online career coaches in 2026. The economic math is simple and devastating. True, personalized career counseling is incredibly labor-intensive. It requires hours of deep interviewing, market research, and bespoke strategy formulation. It is impossible to scale effectively. Therefore, to achieve the massive profit margins these online coaches boast about, they must completely remove the human element from the fulfillment process while heavily emphasizing the human element in the marketing process. They build an intricate, high-touch facade to justify the exorbitant upfront fee, and then funnel the client into a low-touch, automated, completely depersonalized digital wasteland once the refund period expires. We must also scrutinize the credentials of these individuals. Historically, career counseling was a specialized discipline residing within the domain of higher education and licensed psychological practice. It required rigorous academic training in vocational psychology, psychometrics, and human development. Today, the barrier to entry is literally non-existent. There is absolutely no federal or state regulatory body overseeing the title of career coach or career strategist in the United States. A 22-year-old with absolutely zero corporate hiring experience, no academic background in organizational behavior, and not a single verifiable successful client placement can legally launch a website tomorrow, declare themselves a premier career transition expert, and charge desperate professionals thousands of dollars for utterly fabricated advice. The danger extends far beyond the immediate financial loss. The historical trends of these standardized programs show a massive reliance on outdated, generic advice that actively harms your professional reputation. These coaches distribute identical, heavily stylized resume templates to thousands of clients simultaneously. They instruct you to use the exact same automated outreach scripts to message hiring managers on professional networks. They tell you to aggressively optimize your digital profiles with a specific, dense cluster of keywords. They operate under the delusion that human beings are reading these materials. But what happens when you take this highly engineered, incredibly expensive templated advice and feed it into the cold, ruthless, algorithmic filtering systems that actually control corporate hiring in 2026? You are not optimizing your career. You are paying thousands of dollars to be strategically and permanently filtered out of the very jobs you are desperate to secure. The mechanics of these corporate applicant tracking systems are the ultimate gatekeepers, and the way these coaching platforms interact with them is a recipe for absolute professional disaster. What happens when your heavily optimized resume is instantly flagged as spam by the very software designed to hire you? To understand the sheer scale of this digital catastrophe, we must deeply analyze the specific mechanics of enterprise-level corporate hiring in the year 2026. You are not handing a physical piece of paper to a human being sitting behind a mahogany desk. You are submitting a highly structured data packet to an advanced, computationally aggressive applicant tracking system, or ATS. These systems, heavily integrated with sophisticated artificial intelligence and natural language processing models, operate entirely as ruthless, highly efficient gatekeepers. They are programmed to process thousands of applications in a matter of seconds, scoring, ranking, and ultimately discarding over 75% of candidates before a human recruiter even opens the software dashboard. When you pay a premium online career coach thousands of dollars, a massive portion of their perceived value is tied to delivering a visually stunning, heavily designed, and keyword-stuffed resume. They present this document to you as a proprietary masterpiece. They add complex sidebars, dynamic graphics to represent your skill proficiencies, intricate tables, and custom, non-standard typography. They do this because if they handed you a plain, unformatted text document, you would immediately demand a refund. They are selling you visual aesthetics to justify their exorbitant consulting fees. However, this exact visual optimization is the precise mechanism of your professional self-destruction. The historical trends of modern ATS parsing software demonstrate a profound, systemic inability to accurately read complex formatting. Let us examine a highly representative case study from the third quarter of this year. Consider Marcus, a highly experienced senior logistics coordinator based in Chicago, Illinois. Following a corporate merger that eliminated his department, Marcus invested $3,200 into an elite career transformation package, advertised heavily on a prominent video sharing platform. The centerpiece of this package was a total resume and digital profile overhaul. The online coach delivered a stunning 2-column resume featuring a stylized headshot, a custom logo for his personal brand, and intricate infographics detailing his project management timeline. Marcus felt incredibly confident. He diligently submitted this expensive document to over 150 open positions within his exact industry tier. The potential outcomes he envisioned involved multiple competing offers. The reality was absolute, deafening silence. Not a single initial screening call, not one human interaction. Marcus assumed the job market was simply impenetrable. The truth was entirely technical and deeply tragic. We ran his exact, expensive resume through a standard commercial ATS parser to see exactly what the hiring managers were seeing. It was a complete data failure. The software algorithms, attempting to read the document strictly from left to right, completely merged the dual columns. The text became a jumbled, incoherent block of overlapping words. The graphics detailing his software proficiencies were translated into massive strings of corrupted code. His contact information, placed elegantly in a stylized header, was entirely stripped away, rendering him literally uncontactable, even if a recruiter somehow managed to decipher his mangled work history. The artificial intelligence did not see a polished executive. It saw a corrupted file. It automatically assigned his application a 0% match score and permanently archived his profile into a digital abyss. Marcus paid over $3,000 to become invisible. Imagine if you hired a supposedly elite translator to facilitate a multi-million-dollar international business negotiation. However, instead of teaching you the specific dialect the foreign executives actually speak, your translator taught you to speak exclusively in complex, abstract poetry because it sounded more sophisticated to the untrained ear. When you arrive at the negotiation table, you speak beautifully, but the executives simply stare at you in utter confusion, completely unable to process your words, and subsequently award the contract to a competitor who simply spoke their native language clearly. This is exactly what the modern online career coaching industry is doing to your professional narrative. They are formatting your career history in a dialect that the corporate machines are explicitly programmed to reject. The deception extends far beyond visual formatting into the highly controversial practice of keyword stuffing. A staple of online career coaching advice involves providing you with a list of aggressive action verbs and industry-specific terminology, instructing you to artificially inject these words into every single bullet point of your employment history. 5 years ago, basic ATS scanners functioned like simple search engines. If the job description asked for leadership, and you typed leadership 10 times, you scored higher. The 2026 reality is vastly different. Modern AI-driven human resource software utilizes semantic search capabilities and contextual analysis. It does not just look for the word. It analyzes the surrounding syntax to determine the actual scale, scope, and historical validity of your claim. When an online coach tells you to copy and paste their proprietary, templated bullet points, these advanced systems instantly recognize the lack of contextual depth. Even worse, many modern systems are now specifically calibrated to detect and penalize heavy, unnatural keyword stuffing, flagging the application as synthetic or historically exaggerated. You are triggering the exact spam filters you paid a professional to help you bypass. Furthermore, we must address the templated outreach strategies these coaches provide. They equip you with standardized, heavily optimized direct messaging scripts to send to hiring managers and executive recruiters on professional networking platforms. They promise that these specific psychological triggers will force an immediate response. But you must consider the sheer volume of the internet. Because these coaches operate on a massive scale, selling the exact same program to thousands of anxious professionals across the United States, hiring managers are currently being bombarded with the exact same heavily scripted messages. Imagine sitting in a human resources office in Seattle, opening your messages, and reading the exact same uniquely crafted opening sentence from 40 different applicants in 1 week. The strategy does not make you stand out. It instantly brands you as someone who lacks original thought and relies on generic, paid-for templates. You are spending thousands of dollars to actively erode your professional credibility and broadcast to industry gatekeepers that you are utilizing a mass-marketed coaching service. We are witnessing the mass commodification of career desperation, where standardized, highly destructive advice is packaged as bespoke elite strategy. The financial toll is devastating, but the psychological toll is arguably worse. Candidates like Marcus internalize the constant rejection, believing their skills are fundamentally worthless, completely unaware that their heavily optimized, expensive digital presentation is the sole barrier to entry. They blame themselves for a systemic algorithmic failure entirely manufactured by the very expert they trusted. If the standardized digital front door, the applicant tracking system, is aggressively filtering out the exact templates sold by premium career coaches, and if traditional online networking strategies are actively diminishing your professional reputation, we must ask a critical, foundational question. How are the top earners in the United States actually securing high-level positions in this hyper-automated economy? If the resumes are failing, and the messaging scripts are triggering spam filters, what is the invisible architecture of the 2026 job market? The answer involves a completely different set of historical trends, a methodology that requires absolute zero upfront capital, and a backdoor strategy that the online coaching industry desperately hopes you never discover. To understand this backdoor strategy, we must first completely dismantle the way you perceive the hiring process in the year 2026 and accept a fundamental, unvarnished truth about corporate behavior. Hiring managers are terrified of making mistakes. The financial penalty for a bad hire in today's hyper-specialized economy is astronomical, often costing a company upwards of 3 times the employee's base salary in wasted onboarding, lost productivity, and severance protocols. Because of this immense pressure, hiring managers fundamentally distrust the algorithmic applicant tracking systems just as much as you do. They know the artificial intelligence is filtering out brilliant candidates based on arbitrary formatting errors, and they know the candidates who do make it through have likely artificially inflated their resumes using generative language models. This mutual distrust has accelerated historical trends toward what labor economists call the shadow job market. The shadow job market is the invisible ecosystem where high-paying, unadvertised roles are filled entirely through internal networks, trusted peer referrals, and proactive, value-driven outreach. While online career coaches are charging you $5,000 to knock louder on the heavily fortified front door of the corporate fortress, the most successful candidates are quietly walking through the completely unguarded back door. This backdoor methodology relies on a concept known as the proof of work protocol. A resume is a historical document that tells a stranger what you claim to have done in the past. It requires the reader to make a massive leap of faith to assume you can replicate that success for them in the future. In stark contrast, a proof of work document does not tell. It demonstrates. It provides undeniable, immediate, and tangible evidence of your exact competence by solving a specific, highly relevant problem for the company before they even know you exist. Let us examine a highly detailed case study to illustrate the immense power of this completely free, radically different approach. Consider Emily, a 34-year-old traditional marketing director based in Atlanta, Georgia. In the spring of 2026, Emily recognized that her specific sector of print and broadcast marketing was rapidly contracting. She urgently needed to pivot into the lucrative field of artificial intelligence product marketing. Every single online career coach she consulted told her this pivot was statistically impossible without returning to university for a specialized degree or paying for a $10,000 elite boot camp. They insisted her resume lacked the required historical keywords. Emily rejected this expensive advice and opted for the proof of work protocol. She targeted 3 mid-sized software companies in the logistics sector. Instead of sending a resume, she spent 1 week intensely researching their current product rollouts. She listened to their publicly available quarterly earnings calls, she read their technical press releases, and she scoured user forums to find out exactly what their current clients were complaining about. Through this rigorous, zero-cost research, Emily discovered that one of her target companies had recently launched a predictive analytics tool, but their user adoption rate was completely stalling because the onboarding process was incredibly confusing for non-technical clients. Emily did not ask for permission to fix this. She spent the weekend drafting a comprehensive, 4-page strategic brief. She outlined the exact frictional choke points in their current user journey, proposed a highly streamlined communication strategy to simplify the technical jargon, and drafted 3 examples of automated email sequences designed to reactivate frustrated users. She then bypassed the applicant tracking system entirely. She did not apply through the company website. She utilized free, publicly available directory tools to locate the direct email address of the vice president of product. She attached her strategic brief and sent a concise, fiercely professional message stating that she had noticed a bottleneck in their current deployment and had mapped out a potential solution for their consideration. Imagine if you are that vice president of product. You are currently overwhelmed, facing immense pressure from your board of directors because your new software launch is underperforming. Your human resources department has just handed you a stack of 50 perfectly formatted, keyword-stuffed resumes from candidates who all look identical on paper. None of them understand your immediate crisis. Then, you open your email inbox and find a document from a complete stranger who has flawlessly diagnosed your most agonizing business problem and handed you a viable strategic roadmap to solve it. You do not care what their college major was 10 years ago. You do not care if their resume has the correct artificial intelligence margins. You recognize immediate, undeniable value. Within 48 hours, the vice president of product did not pass Emily to human resources for a screening call. He invited her to a direct, high-level strategy meeting. By presenting a proof of work, Emily completely bypassed the traditional power dynamic of a job interview. She was no longer a desperate applicant begging for a salary. She was a peer, an external consultant actively discussing a mutual business challenge. The potential outcomes of this strategy are staggering. Emily was offered a senior product marketing role with a base salary 30% higher than her previous position, not because she paid a coach to optimize her digital headline, but because she fundamentally understood that companies do not hire resumes, they hire solutions to their immediate problems. This methodology completely circumvents the predatory online coaching industry because it requires zero financial capital. It requires only deep research, critical thinking, and the willingness to do the actual work up front. You are entirely replacing the expensive illusion of networking, which coaches define as blindly sending thousands of generic connection requests, with targeted, high-value problem-solving. It shifts your entire professional posture from passive consumption to aggressive value creation. However, executing this strategy is a highly delicate operation. The line between a brilliant, proactive professional and an annoying, presumptive amateur is incredibly thin. If you construct your proof of work incorrectly, or if you deliver it to the wrong executive using the wrong tone, you will not just be ignored, you will be permanently blacklisted as a liability. There is a precise psychological framework required to structure that initial cold email. You must navigate corporate hierarchy, avoid triggering defensive egos, and position your unsolicited advice not as a harsh critique of their current operations, but as a collaborative, highly informed observation. Online career coaches completely ignore this framework because it cannot be templated or mass-produced. What are the specific psychological triggers you must include in the subject line to ensure an executive actually opens the message? How do you construct the first 3 sentences to immediately establish your industry authority without sounding arrogant? And most importantly, when you successfully bypass the system and they finally invite you to that high-stakes, direct conversation, what is the exact script you must use to seamlessly transition the discussion from your free advice to a highly compensated formal employment offer? To successfully execute this transition, we must dissect the anatomy of the initial outreach. The inbox of a corporate executive in the United States in 2026 is a highly defended fortress. It is heavily filtered by artificial intelligence assistants and aggressively guarded by human gatekeepers. If your email subject line reads like a marketing pitch, a desperate plea for a networking coffee, or a standard job application, it is immediately deleted. The historical trends of cold outreach clearly show that the highest open rates come from subject lines that masquerade as internal communications. You must remove all capitalization, eliminate exclamation points, and use stark, operational language. A subject line like, observations regarding Q3 user retention friction, or notes on the recent supply chain vendor integration, signals to the executive's brain that this is a critical business update, not a vendor pitch. You are bypassing their external defenses by speaking their internal operational language. Once the email is opened, your first 3 sentences dictate whether they read the attached proof of work or permanently block your domain. Online career coaches often advise you to lead with a grand summary of your career accomplishments. This is a fatal error. The executive does not care about your past. They only care about their immediate future. You must utilize a psychological framework we call the zero-pressure observation. Sentence 1 must clearly establish that you have been deeply analyzing their specific, current public initiatives. Sentence 2 must state the exact, microscopic problem you have identified without assigning blame. Sentence 3 must offer the attached solution, while completely removing any obligation for them to reply. For example, I have been closely tracking the rollout of your new enterprise software suite over the past 3 weeks. I noticed a significant bottleneck in the user documentation for the mid-tier clients that seems to be causing integration delays. I mapped out a streamlined onboarding sequence to bypass this friction, which I have attached below for your team to use however you see fit. Imagine if you are a vice president of operations. You are constantly bombarded by people asking you for favors, asking for your time, or asking for a job. Suddenly, a stranger arrives, identifies a problem you probably knew existed, but did not have the bandwidth to solve, hands you the solution entirely for free, and then attempts to walk away without demanding anything in return. The psychological principle of reciprocity is immediately triggered. You have demonstrated massive competence in high-level critical thinking, and you have done it with absolute professional grace. You are no longer perceived as a subordinate applicant. You are perceived as an external peer. Let us analyze a case study featuring Michael, a 28-year-old financial analyst based in New York City. In the highly volatile financial sector of early 2026, Michael wanted to transition from commercial banking into a specialized corporate development role at a mid-cap renewable energy firm. He knew his resume would never survive the applicant tracking system algorithms because he lacked direct industry experience. Instead of paying $4,000 to an online coach to rewrite his digital profile, Michael spent 2 weeks analyzing the target firm's recent, failed acquisition of a smaller solar competitor. He read the Public Securities and Exchange Commission filings, he analyzed the regulatory hurdles they encountered, and he built a comprehensive risk assessment model detailing exactly why the deal collapsed and how they could structure their next acquisition to avoid the same regulatory traps. Michael found the direct email of the chief financial officer and sent the model using the exact zero-pressure framework. The chief financial officer did not send the model to human resources. He sent it directly to his internal strategy team to verify the math. When the math proved sound, the executive personally invited Michael to a private video conference. This is the critical juncture where most candidates, even those who successfully create a proof of work, completely sabotage their potential outcomes. When you get into the room with the executive, you cannot revert to the posture of a desperate job seeker. If the executive asks what you are looking for, you cannot vaguely state that you are exploring new opportunities or hoping to join a great culture. You must control the narrative. The exact script Michael used to transition the conversation is a masterclass in professional leverage. He calmly stated, "I am glad the model was helpful. I built this because I am deeply fascinated by your firm's aggressive expansion strategy in the current regulatory environment. I am currently in the market for a full-time corporate development role, and I wanted to proactively demonstrate exactly how my analytical frameworks can prevent the kind of capital bleed your team experienced in the last quarter. If you are looking to internalize this level of risk assessment for your upcoming acquisitions, I would be highly interested in discussing how we can integrate my methodology into your team full-time." Michael did not ask for a job. He proposed a mutually beneficial business transaction. He anchored his value strictly to the financial protection and strategic growth of the company, leveraging the exact problem he had just solved for them for free. The potential outcomes of this hyper-targeted approach far exceed any traditional application method. Michael secured a corporate development position with a starting compensation package that bypassed 3 distinct bands of traditional corporate hierarchy, completely invalidating the idea that he needed more formalized education or a premium resume writing service. He proved that competence, when aggressively and correctly displayed, overrides historical pedigree in the modern American economy. However, securing the meeting and stating your value proposition is only the beginning of the executive gauntlet. The online career coaching industry has spent the last decade mass-producing a specific type of interview preparation strategy. They instruct you to memorize the situation, task, action, and result method, and to prepare heavily rehearsed, sanitized stories about a time you overcame a minor workplace conflict or demonstrated leadership. They sell you lists of the top 50 behavioral interview questions and provide you with templated, safe answers. But historical trends from the highest levels of corporate recruitment in 2026 reveal a terrifying new reality. Executives are actively trained to recognize these rehearsed, robotic answers, and they view them as a massive red flag. They assume that if you are speaking in heavily scripted frameworks, you are hiding your true analytical capabilities. To combat this, the corporate world has adopted a completely different, highly aggressive interview format designed to completely break your memorized scripts and expose your actual real-time processing speed. It is a psychological pressure cooker that no online coach is preparing you for, because it cannot be solved with a worksheet. If you walk into a 2026 executive interview armed only with the sanitized behavioral stories you paid a digital strategist to help you write, you will be intellectually dismantled within the first 10 minutes. What is this new adversarial interview protocol, and what is the specific counterintuitive framework you must adopt to survive it and secure the maximum possible salary? The corporate ecosystem of 2026 has universally adopted what organizational psychologists now refer to as the microsimulation, or the cognitive stress test interview. For the past 20 years, the standard advice sold by the online career coaching industry has revolved almost entirely around the STAR method. They tell you to structure your answers by outlining the situation, the task, the action you took, and the result you achieved. They provide you with beautifully formatted worksheets to memorize a dozen perfect, sterilized stories about your past triumphs, carefully engineered to make you look flawless. But historical trends from recent executive hiring cycles reveal that modern corporate leaders completely despise this format. They know that a beautifully rehearsed story about a past event is not an accurate indicator of how you will handle a sudden, unprecedented crisis tomorrow. In an era defined by rapid technological disruption, artificial intelligence integration, and constant market volatility, executives do not care what you did in a stable environment 3 years ago. They want to witness exactly how your brain processes ambiguous, high-stakes information in real time. Imagine if you are preparing for a heavyweight boxing match, and your highly paid trainer only instructs you on how to choreograph a beautiful victory dance, completely ignoring the reality that you are about to step into a ring where someone is actively trying to knock you unconscious. This is the exact vulnerability created by relying on standard online interview preparation. You are walking into a dynamic adversarial environment armed with static, heavily scripted monologues. When you sit down across from a 2026 executive, they are not going to ask you about your greatest weakness or a time you disagreed with a coworker. They are going to slide a laptop across the table, or share their screen, display a live dashboard of failing metrics, and initiate a microsimulation. Consider the profound case study of Jessica, a 38-year-old user experience director based in San Francisco, California. After a sudden round of corporate downsizing in the tech sector, Jessica hired a premium online career strategist for $5,000. She spent 3 weeks rigorously memorizing her STAR method stories, practicing her posture on video calls, and perfecting a highly curated professional narrative. She secured a final round interview with a rapidly expanding financial technology firm. She expected a conversational deep dive into her portfolio. Instead, the chief technology officer bypassed the pleasantries entirely. He presented a real anonymized data set showing a sudden unexplained 20% drop in user retention on their primary mobile application that had occurred over the previous 48 hours. He looked at Jessica and said, "We are bleeding users. Our engineering team cannot find a server error. You have 10 minutes to diagnose the potential friction points and pitch a structural triage plan. Begin." Jessica instantly panicked. Her expensive online coach had never prepared her for live cognitive processing. She instinctively tried to retreat to a rehearsed star story, attempting to pivot the conversation by saying, "Well, in my previous role, I handled a similar situation by..." The executive immediately held up his hand and cut her off, stating coldly, "I am not asking about your previous role. I am asking about my application right now." Jessica's perfectly curated facade crumbled. She spent the next 10 minutes stammering, guessing blindly at solutions without understanding the underlying data constraints, and ultimately failed the interview not because she lacked the technical skill, but because she lacked the framework to process live adversarial ambiguity. She had paid $5,000 to learn how to recite history, rendering her completely paralyzed when asked to invent the future. To survive the microsimulation and secure the maximum possible salary, you must adopt a counterintuitive framework known as out-loud synthesis. The secret that the career coaching industry fundamentally misunderstands is that the executive does not actually expect you to solve their complex business problem perfectly in 10 minutes. They are utilizing the problem as a psychological pressure valve to observe your specific analytical boundaries. The correct response is not immediate, flawless execution. The correct response is immediate, aggressive clarification. When presented with the stress test, you must explicitly vocalize your thought process. You must treat the interviewer not as an authority figure grading a test, but as a peer collaborator in a high-stakes whiteboarding session. Let us contrast Jessica's failure with the case study of Robert, a 41-year-old senior supply chain analyst in Detroit, Michigan. Robert utilized the out-loud synthesis framework during an interview with a major automotive manufacturer. He was presented with a microsimulation regarding a hypothetical, sudden port strike in Southeast Asia that would immediately sever their primary microchip supply line. Instead of immediately pitching a solution, Robert stopped talking. He took out a physical notepad. He looked directly at the vice president of operations and began setting analytical boundaries. He asked, "Before I map the rerouting logistics, I need to know our exact inventory buffer in days, the air freight capital allocation we are authorized to burn, and whether our secondary vendors in Mexico have the tooling ready to scale production today." Robert did not give an answer. He demanded the variables required to build an answer. By doing this, he instantly neutralized the adversarial dynamic. He demonstrated that he was not intimidated by the crisis, and more importantly, he proved that his first instinct was not to guess, but to gather critical operational intelligence. The executive was forced to step out of the role of the interrogator and into the role of a resource provider, feeding Robert the data he required. For the next 15 minutes, Robert simply mapped his logic out loud, stating things like, "If our buffer is only 14 days, air freight is historically our only viable triage option, but given the current fuel indexes, that will obliterate our quarterly margin. Therefore, our primary action is not logistical. It is client-facing communication to manage delay expectations." Robert successfully passed the microsimulation because he allowed the executive to see the raw, unpolished mechanics of his intelligence. He proved his competence entirely through the caliber of his questions and the structure of his reasoning, completely abandoning the polished, artificial stories that online coaches claim are mandatory. The potential outcomes of mastering out-loud synthesis are profound. It transforms an aggressive interrogation into a collaborative peer discussion, fundamentally shifting the power dynamic of the room in your favor. However, mastering the microsimulation and proving your undeniable value is only the beginning of the executive gauntlet. Once you successfully navigate the cognitive stress test, and the firm decides they absolutely must have you on their team, you enter the most dangerous and mathematically complex phase of the entire process. The moment they verbally offer you the position, the real psychological warfare begins. The 2026 salary negotiation. The historical trends of compensation have completely fractured. The outdated rules sold by digital career coaches, such as never giving the first number, or relying on broad industry salary averages, are completely dead and will actively cost you thousands of dollars. The modern corporate compensation package is a highly convoluted matrix of base salary, deferred equity, performance bonuses, and remote work tax implications. If you utilize the generic negotiation scripts provided by a mass-market career counseling platform, you are walking into a financial ambush blindfolded. What is the newly established economic reality of the 2026 compensation structure? And what is the exact mathematical sequence you must execute to leverage your proof of work into a life-changing financial package without triggering a rescinded offer? The 2026 compensation structure has evolved into a highly complex, multi-layered financial instrument that renders traditional salary negotiation advice entirely obsolete. When you consult an online career coach, they will inevitably hand you a standardized script based on historical trends from a decade ago. They will instruct you to research your job title on a free salary aggregation website, find the median number, and confidently demand 10 to 20% above that figure. They operate under the delusion that human resources departments in the modern era still function like open bazaars where base salaries are infinitely flexible based purely on your charisma or perceived market value. This is a profound and dangerous miscalculation. Modern enterprise organizations utilize algorithmic, dynamic geographic pay banding. The base salary they offer you is not an arbitrary number. It is a mathematically rigid output generated by their internal compensation software, calculated down to the specific cost of labor index of your primary residential zip code. If you blindly follow a digital coach's advice and demand a base salary that mathematically breaks their internal equity algorithms, you do not look like a high-value negotiator. You look like a massive corporate compliance risk, and the historical trend is that this will trigger an immediate, automated rescinded offer. To secure life-changing financial leverage without self-sabotage, you must abandon the concept of the base salary and master the variable compensation matrix. We must examine the case study of Amanda, a 35-year-old senior data privacy compliance officer based in Denver, Colorado. Amanda successfully utilized the proof of work protocol we discussed earlier to bypass the applicant tracking system of a major healthcare logistics firm. She presented a comprehensive audit of their recent cloud migration, identifying a critical data vulnerability that their internal team had completely missed. The Chief Information Security Officer was astounded and immediately moved to hire her. When the formal offer arrived, it included a base salary of $140,000. If Amanda had used an online career counselor, they would have told her to counter at $160,000. Instead, Amanda executed a precise mathematical sequence designed for the realities of the 2026 labor market. Step 1 of this sequence requires you to completely disaggregate the offer. You must visually separate the base salary, the restricted stock units or equity options, the performance multipliers, and the remote work geographic adjustment. Amanda knew from her pre-interview research that the healthcare logistics firm had a rigid internal policy capping compliance roles at a Tier 2 geographic band for Denver residents. Fighting the base salary was a mathematical impossibility. The human resources representative literally did not have the system permissions to override the algorithm. Step 2 is where the true leverage exists. You must aggressively negotiate the unindexed variables. These are the compensation elements that exist outside the strict geographic algorithms, specifically the sign-on bonus, the equity vesting schedule, and the guaranteed first-year performance multiplier. Amanda scheduled a video call with the human resources executive, but she did not use generic industry averages to justify her requests. She used the exact financial anchor she had already established, her proof of work. The exact script she deployed is crucial to understand. She stated, calmly and professionally, "I have reviewed the total compensation matrix. I understand that the base salary of $140,000 is fixed to the Denver geographic band, and I respect your internal equity algorithms. However, the data vulnerability I identified and solved in my initial proof of work prevented a potential compliance fine historically averaging over $2 million in our specific sector. Because I am bringing immediate, verified risk mitigation to the firm on day one, I am requesting that we adjust the unindexed variables to reflect this localized impact. I am looking for a $50,000 sign-on bonus to offset the unvested equity I am leaving at my current firm, and I request that my restricted stock unit vesting schedule be accelerated from the standard 4-year backweighted cliff to an evenly distributed monthly vest starting in quarter 2. This is the exact mathematical sequence of leverage. Amanda completely bypassed the algorithmic wall that blocks 99% of candidates. She validated the human resources executives' constraints by explicitly acknowledging the geographic banding, which immediately lowered their defensive posture. Then, she tied her financial demands directly to the quantifiable, verifiable millions of dollars she had already saved the company before even being placed on the payroll. She negotiated the architecture of the money, rather than just the raw number. The potential outcomes of this strategy are historically unprecedented for candidates who master it. The firm could not alter her base salary, but because sign-on bonuses and equity schedules are categorized as discretionary acquisition costs, they immediately approved her counteroffer. Amanda secured a total first-year compensation package that was 45% higher than her initial offer, all without once using the aggressive, adversarial tactics peddled by premium online career strategists. Furthermore, you must deeply understand the predatory nature of modern equity structures. Many candidates are easily blinded by a massive restricted stock unit number on their offer letter, failing to read the fine print of the vesting schedule. Historical trends in the 2026 tech and logistics sectors show a massive shift toward backweighted vesting. A company might offer you $100,000 in equity, but the schedule dictates you receive only 5% in year 1, 15% in year 2, and the remaining 80% heavily backloaded into years 3 and 4. They are utilizing equity as a retention hostage situation. Career coaches routinely fail to warn clients about this, simply celebrating the total assumed value of the offer. If you do not actively negotiate the mathematical distribution of your equity during the offer phase, you are effectively accepting a massive pay cut for your first 24 months of employment. You must act as your own forensic accountant. You must calculate the exact, post-tax, geographically adjusted take-home pay for every single month of your projected first year before you sign the document. You must factor in the specific 2026 state tax penalties applied to remote workers whose corporate headquarters are located in different jurisdictions, a highly complex legislative reality that generic online courses entirely ignore. You are not just negotiating a job, you are establishing the baseline financial trajectory for the next decade of your life, and relying on templated advice from an unregulated internet personality to navigate this corporate machinery is a catastrophic risk. However, let us assume you execute this sequence flawlessly. You leverage your proof of work, you bypass the geographic algorithms, you secure the aggressive equity vesting schedule, and you finally sign the heavily negotiated employment contract. You might believe the battle is won, and that you have successfully navigated the transition. But the moment you log into the corporate network on your very first day, an entirely new, deeply hidden phase of the 2026 employment lifecycle begins. It is a phase so ruthless and hyper-quantified that it is currently responsible for the highest first-year turnover rates in American corporate history. You have survived the applicant tracking system, you have survived the microsimulation, and you have conquered the compensation matrix. But how do you survive the invisible, algorithm-driven 90-day probationary gauntlet? The very career coaches who promise to get you hired are completely silent on how to prevent the company's internal productivity artificial intelligence from flagging you for immediate termination on day 89. The 90-day probationary period in the modern American workforce has been fundamentally redesigned. It is no longer a localized, human-driven evaluation of your cultural fit or a gentle ramp-up period to learn the internal systems of your new employer. It has evolved into a highly mechanized, intensely surveilled data-gathering operation. The historical trends of enterprise management over the past 3 years show a massive, systemic adoption of advanced employee productivity tracking software, heavily integrated with artificial intelligence. When you sign your offer letter and log into your corporate portal on day 1, you are immediately plugged into a sprawling digital panopticon. Every keystroke, every application toggle, the latency in your email responses, the semantic sentiment of your internal instant messages, and the precise ratio of your active screen time to idle calendar whitespace are continuously harvested, quantified, and measured against the historical data models of the company's highest performers. This is the exact arena where the online career coaching industry completely abandons you. They operate on a fractured, outdated business model that defines success entirely as the moment you secure the employment contract. Their multi-thousand-dollar programs culminate in a celebratory social media post about your new job title. They collect their final payment and vanish, leaving you entirely unequipped to survive the invisible, algorithmic gauntlet designed to aggressively weed out expensive new hires before their full benefits and equity packages vest on day 90. They instruct you on how to artificially optimize your resume to beat the applicant tracking system at the front door, completely ignoring the reality that the exact same machine learning architecture is waiting inside the building to terminate you at the back door. To understand the sheer brutality of this post-hire environment, we must examine the harrowing case study of Kevin, a 31-year-old senior project manager based in Chicago, Illinois. Kevin invested $4,000 in a highly publicized online career transition accelerator. The program successfully taught him how to leverage a massive volume of cold outreach to secure a lucrative, fully remote position at a prominent national logistics firm in the first quarter of 2026. Kevin followed his career coach's final piece of advice to the letter. The coach told him to be highly visible, highly communicative, and to ask as many questions as possible during his first 3 months to demonstrate eagerness and cultural integration. Kevin spent his first 60 days actively messaging his superiors on the company's internal chat software, scheduling numerous brief video calls to clarify project parameters, and openly crowdsourcing solutions on team channels to build rapport. His human manager consistently gave him positive verbal feedback during their brief weekly check-ins. Kevin felt entirely secure in his new 6-figure role. However, on day 89, Kevin was completely locked out of his corporate accounts and received an automated email from Human Resources informing him that his probationary contract was being terminated effectively immediately due to failing internal efficiency benchmarks. Kevin was devastated and entirely confused. His human manager had never issued a formal warning. The reality, which his expensive career coach never prepared him for, was that Kevin was not fired by his human manager. He was fired by the enterprise productivity algorithm. We must dissect exactly how this artificial intelligence interpreted Kevin's behavior. The system was not evaluating his human intent, it was strictly evaluating his digital exhaust. When Kevin constantly messaged his superiors to ask questions, the natural language processing software did not log this as eagerness. It flagged his semantic communication as demonstrating a high degree of operational hesitancy and low independent problem-solving capability. When he scheduled multiple brief video calls, the calendar analytics software penalized him for fragmenting the deep work time blocks of higher-ranking executives. His constant crowdsourcing on team channels mathematically categorized him as a net negative resource drain on his department's overall velocity. The algorithm compared Kevin's digital footprint against the historical metadata of top-performing project managers in the firm, who statistically demonstrated long periods of uninterrupted application usage, concise and definitive internal communications, and a high ratio of asynchronous problem resolution. Kevin's algorithmic score plummeted below the 70th percentile, triggering an automated termination protocol that his human manager simply rubber-stamped to avoid fighting the data. Imagine if you trained extensively for a marathon, hiring a premium coach who optimized your running shoes, perfected your pre-race diet, and taught you how to gracefully cross the starting line, only to discover a mile into the race that you are actually competing in a high-stakes, underwater freediving competition. Your expensive preparation is not just useless, it is actively accelerating your failure. This is the tragic paradox of modern online career counseling. They prepare you exclusively for the archaic human elements of professional advancement, leaving you completely blind to the hyper-quantified realities of daily corporate survival. To survive the 2026 probationary gauntlet, you must adopt what data scientists refer to as the digital footprint protocol. This requires a profound psychological shift in how you operate during your first 90 days. You cannot simply focus on completing your assigned tasks. You must actively manage the metadata you generate while completing those tasks. You must deeply understand that you are performing for two distinct audiences simultaneously: your human supervisor, who desires pleasant cultural interactions, and the silent algorithmic parser, which demands undeniable statistical efficiency. Executing this protocol requires strategic, counterintuitive behavior. Instead of firing off dozens of rapid, fragmented messages throughout the day to show you are actively working, you must artificially batch your communications. You must consolidate your questions into a single, highly structured, asynchronous email sent during the specific hours the algorithm historically categorizes as peak administrative time. When you are executing deep, complex tasks, you cannot rely on offline tools like physical whiteboards or personal notebooks, because the software cannot see them. You must force your entire workflow into the company's observable digital infrastructure. You must actively type, toggle, and construct your models entirely within the monitored software environment, ensuring the biometric attention trackers and keystroke loggers continuously register high-velocity engagement. Furthermore, you must actively sanitize the sentiment of your internal communications. The natural language processing engines scanning your messages are actively searching for linguistic markers of burnout, frustration, or corporate dissent. If you privately message a peer to vent about a confusing client requirement using negative emotional syntax, that data is instantly logged and aggregated into your flight risk profile. The coaches who tell you to bring your authentic, vulnerable self to the modern workplace are handing you a loaded weapon and pointing it directly at your career. You must utilize strictly operational, emotionally neutral, and solution-oriented language across every single digital touchpoint. You are not just building a professional reputation, you are meticulously engineering an algorithmic safety net. If the multi-billion-dollar online career coaching industry is utterly failing to protect you from the algorithmic realities of the modern workplace, and if their standardized methodologies for bypassing applicant tracking systems are historically proven to trigger automated rejections, we are left staring at a terrifying industry-wide illusion. Millions of American professionals are currently funneling their dwindling savings into digital coaching platforms that are objectively obsolete. But this massive transfer of wealth is not happening by accident. It is the result of a highly coordinated, incredibly sophisticated marketing infrastructure that preys on your deepest financial insecurities. To fully comprehend the sheer scale of this operation, we must turn our attention away from the victims and aggressively analyze the perpetrators. We must look behind the polished digital storefronts, beyond the heavily edited testimonial videos, and dissect the exact predatory economic engine driving the 2026 career coaching complex. How are these platforms actually acquiring their clients? What are the hidden, recurring financial traps buried within their terms of service? And what happens when you attempt to demand a refund for a service that statistically ruined your professional reputation? To truly understand the predatory economic engine driving the 2026 career coaching complex, we must meticulously deconstruct their client acquisition infrastructure. These platforms do not rely on organic discovery. They rely on militarized digital surveillance and highly aggressive behavioral targeting. The moment you experience a professional disruption, you trigger an invisible tripwire across the data broker ecosystem. When you search for severance package taxation rules, when you alter your professional networking profile status to indicate you are open to new opportunities, or when you begin browsing job boards during standard corporate working hours, your digital behavioral footprint radically shifts. This shift is instantly recognized by predictive algorithms, and your data profile is subsequently auctioned off to the highest bidder in the career transition industry. You are no longer just a professional. You are a highly qualified, emotionally vulnerable lead. Consider the historical trend of digital marketing over the past 5 years. The strategy has shifted entirely away from highlighting the benefits of a service to aggressively amplifying the consumer's immediate terror. Let us examine the case study of Thomas, a 47-year-old regional director of operations based in Phoenix, Arizona. In early 2026, Thomas was informed that his entire division was being absorbed by an automated supply chain management system. Within 12 hours of returning home and initiating a search for localized unemployment benefits, Thomas was served a highly produced, hyper-targeted video advertisement across 3 different social media platforms. The advertisement did not offer a gentle, supportive coaching service. It featured a charismatic, sharply dressed individual standing in front of a glass whiteboard, explicitly stating that professionals over the age of 45 face a mathematically insurmountable barrier in the current labor market unless they utilize a proprietary, hidden executive networking strategy. The advertisement immediately capitalized on Thomas's precise demographic anxieties. It funneled him into a mandatory 90-minute digital masterclass, which was entirely pre-recorded but artificially engineered to appear as a live exclusive broadcast. Throughout this presentation, the host utilized sophisticated psychological pacing. They validated Thomas's anger toward corporate America, they systematically dismantled the efficacy of traditional resumes, and they presented a series of highly curated, unverified case studies of individuals who had supposedly doubled their salaries within 60 days. By the end of the 90 minutes, Thomas was psychologically primed to view this specific online coach not as a vendor, but as his sole professional savior. He was then instructed to book a complimentary executive strategy session. This strategy session is the most dangerous component of the entire operation. The individual conducting this call is rarely a career expert. They are typically a high-ticket sales closer operating on a strict commission structure. They deploy a psychological framework known in the industry as the pain funnel. They do not ask about your skills. They ask deeply intrusive questions about your financial runway. They ask what will happen to your family's standard of living if you do not secure a six-figure role within 90 days. They artificially inflate your sense of impending doom. And once you reach peak emotional vulnerability, they introduce the solution: an elite proprietary coaching package priced at $6,500. When Thomas hesitated, citing his dwindling savings, the closer utilized high-pressure artificial scarcity, claiming there were only 2 spots left in the current cohort and offering to facilitate a high-interest third-party financing plan directly over the phone. Driven by engineered panic, Thomas signed the digital contract. However, the $6,500 is merely the initial acquisition revenue. The true historical trend of profitability in the 2026 coaching industry relies on burying hidden, recurring financial traps deep within the complex architecture of their digital terms of service. When Thomas electronically initialed a 40-page digital document, he unwittingly agreed to a perpetual subscription model. The initial fee granted him access to the core curriculum and the standardized resume templates. But buried on page 27 was a clause stipulating that access to the alumni networking portal, the weekly group coaching calls, and the proprietary job board required an ongoing continuity fee of $299 per month, set to auto-renew immediately after the first 30 days. Because Thomas was entirely focused on securing a job, he did not scrutinize his credit card statements until month 4, at which point he had unknowingly bled an additional $1,200 to a company that had thus far provided 0 tangible professional outcomes. When candidates like Thomas finally realize that the proprietary strategies are actively harming their job search, that the resume templates are triggering algorithmic rejection, and that the financial drain is exacerbating their economic crisis, they inevitably attempt to trigger the platform's heavily advertised money-back guarantee. This is where the most insidious mechanism of the entire operation is revealed. The online career coaching industry has near universally adopted what legal analysts refer to as the action-based refund policy. On their sales pages, the guarantee is printed in massive, bold typography, creating an illusion of total financial safety. But the legal reality, entirely obscured in the digital fine print, dictates that to qualify for a refund, the client must provide exhaustive, forensic proof that they executed every single directive within the program flawlessly. Let us analyze a specific case study regarding these refund mechanics. Consider Brenda, a 32-year-old software sales executive from Austin, Texas, who paid $8,000 for a premium technology sector transition program. After 6 months of utilizing their scripted outreach templates and receiving nothing but automated rejections or outright hostility from hiring managers, Brenda formally requested a refund. The coaching company's so-called customer success team immediately initiated a hostile compliance audit. To even be considered for a refund, Brenda was contractually required to produce a detailed spreadsheet proving she had submitted perfectly customized applications to exactly 500 distinct corporations. She had to provide screenshot evidence of sending 1,000 personalized connection requests on professional networking platforms using their exact proprietary scripts. She had to prove attendance at every single mandatory weekly group call for 24 consecutive weeks, and she had to submit video recordings of herself executing 50 mock interviews using their specific behavioral frameworks. The mathematical reality is that these action-based criteria are explicitly engineered to be practically impossible for a human being to complete, while simultaneously managing the emotional and logistical burdens of unemployment. If Brenda missed a single group call because she was attending an actual job interview, her contract was rendered null and void. If she slightly altered the wording of an outreach script to make it sound more natural and less robotic, the compliance team would flag it as a deviation from the curriculum, thereby invalidating her guarantee. The company does not evaluate the quality of their advice. They evaluate your mechanical adherence to an impossible volume of busywork. When Brenda inevitably failed to produce this monolithic burden of proof, the company legally denied her refund, claiming she simply did not put in the required effort to manifest her success. Furthermore, if you attempt to escalate the situation, you quickly discover that you have signed away your fundamental legal rights. The overwhelming majority of these 2026 digital coaching contracts contain ironclad forced arbitration clauses. You cannot take them to small claims court in your local jurisdiction. You cannot join a class action lawsuit with the thousands of other professionals they have defrauded. You are contractually bound to settle the dispute through a private arbitration firm, entirely selected and paid for by the coaching company, often located in corporate shelter states like Delaware or Wyoming. The arbitration process is heavily stacked against the consumer, requiring you to pay thousands of dollars in travel and filing fees just to present your case to an arbitrator who relies on the coaching company for repeat business. The entire legal and financial architecture is a meticulously constructed fortress designed to extract maximum upfront capital, legally insulate the founders from accountability, and completely silence the massive population of clients whose careers have been structurally damaged by their generic, automated advice. If the traditional online applications are aggressively filtered out by artificial intelligence, if the corporate gatekeepers despise the standardized networking templates, if the human resources algorithms are designed to terminate you in your first 90 days, and if the multi-billion-dollar career coaching industry is nothing more than a predatory financial trap designed to exploit your professional terror, you are likely feeling a profound sense of paralysis. It appears as though every single avenue of the modern United States labor market is rigged against the individual professional. But this is exactly where the narrative completely shifts. While the masses are bleeding their savings into obsolete coaching funnels and fighting unwinnable wars against corporate algorithms, a small, highly strategic subset of professionals is securing massive compensation packages by entirely rewriting the rules of engagement. They are not hiding from the artificial intelligence, they are aggressively weaponizing it. What is the specific underground technological framework that allows a candidate to reverse engineer a company's internal data, autonomously generate undeniable proof of work, and mathematically force a high-level executive to extend a lucrative employment offer without a single traditional interview? The specific underground technological framework that top-tier candidates are currently utilizing is known within advanced organizational strategy circles as asymmetric data synthesis. While the predatory online career coaching industry is charging you thousands of dollars to teach you how to use basic generative artificial intelligence to write a slightly more polite cover letter or to generate generic interview questions, the most successful professionals in the 2026 labor market are utilizing entirely different open-source machine learning models to conduct autonomous, highly legal corporate espionage. They are not using artificial intelligence to talk about themselves. They are weaponizing it to diagnose the exact, bleeding financial wounds of their target employers using strictly publicly available data. To fully comprehend the sheer power of this methodology, let us examine the profound case study of James, a 33-year-old logistics and predictive analytics specialist based in Seattle, Washington. In the second quarter of 2026, James identified a mid-cap retail corporation he wanted to join. He did not look at their career page. He did not pay an online digital strategist to format his resume to match their corporate branding. Instead, James spent a single weekend deploying a series of automated, open-source data scraping scripts. He directed these scripts to harvest 3 specific public datasets: the company's recent quarterly earnings call transcripts, the last 12 months of their public software repository commits, and the geographical distribution of their negative customer sentiment reviews across social media platforms. James then fed this massive unstructured data packet into a localized private analytical model. He instructed the model to cross-reference the customer complaints regarding delayed shipping with the specific regional code updates pushed by their engineering team. The artificial intelligence revealed a glaring multi-million-dollar operational fracture. The company's newly implemented automated routing software was fundamentally incompatible with the specific weather delay metrics of the Pacific Northwest Corridor, resulting in a compounded logistical failure that was actively costing the firm an estimated $3 million per quarter in refunded merchandise and lost customer lifetime value. The company's internal executives knew they were losing money, but they lacked the cross-departmental data synthesis to pinpoint the exact intersection of the software bug and the geographical supply chain failure. James did not ask for permission to solve this problem. He spent the next 48 hours drafting a highly technical, dynamically modeled white paper. He mapped the exact data discrepancy, visualized the bleeding financial metrics, and provided a precise, step-by-step architectural patch to realign their routing software with historical meteorological data. He then utilized an email permutation tool to find the direct, unlisted contact information for the chief operating officer. He bypassed human resources, bypassed the applicant tracking system, and bypassed the entire concept of a traditional job application. His outreach was a masterclass in executive communication. The subject line was strictly operational, reading simply, Pacific Northwest routing discrepancy and Q3 margin preservation. In the body of the email, James deployed a zero-pressure proposal. He wrote, "I have been analyzing your recent Q2 earnings report alongside your public logistics data. I identified the specific algorithmic friction point causing the localized margin degradation in the Seattle corridor. I have modeled the architectural solution and attached the complete diagnostic brief for your engineering team to implement immediately. I am currently transitioning away from my independent consultancy and looking for an in-house director of logistics role where I can execute these specific systemic optimizations full-time. If recovering this quarterly revenue is a current operational priority, let us schedule a technical review. Imagine if you are that chief operating officer. You have been in endless aggressive meetings with your board of directors trying to explain the bleeding margins. Your internal human resources department is currently funneling you dozens of generic, keyword-stuffed resumes from candidates whose only strategy is waiting to be trained. Suddenly, an external professional bypasses your digital perimeter, accurately diagnoses your most agonizing systemic failure, and hands you the exact, data-backed tourniquet entirely for free. You do not subject this individual to a behavioral interview. You do not ask them about their greatest weakness or demand they recite a sterilized story using the STAR method. You immediately instruct your legal and finance teams to architect a high-level compensation package to acquire this asset before your competitors do. The potential outcomes of asymmetric data synthesis completely shatter historical trends in corporate hiring. James did not undergo a single traditional interview. He engaged in 3 peer-to-peer strategy sessions with the executive board, treating the interaction as a consulting negotiation rather than an employment plea. He mathematically forced their hand through sheer, undeniable competence. He secured a newly created senior director of predictive logistics position with a base salary 40% higher than the standard geographic pay band, accompanied by an aggressive, immediate vesting equity package. He achieved this with absolute zero upfront financial investment in online career coaches, digital masterclasses, or proprietary resume templates. This is the exact reality the multi-billion-dollar online career counseling industry desperately hopes you never discover. If the American workforce realizes that deep, targeted research, asymmetrical artificial intelligence utilization, and raw, proactive value creation completely invalidate the need for an expensive intermediary, the entire digital coaching complex collapses overnight. They are actively selling you a heavily monetized map to a corporate maze that was fundamentally bulldozed and paved over years ago. The 2026 digital employment landscape is hostile, aggressively automated, and entirely unforgiving to the traditional passive applicant. You are fighting an applicant tracking system that penalizes formatting, a human resources compensation matrix that algorithmically suppresses your salary based on your zip code, and an internal productivity artificial intelligence designed to terminate you on day 89 if your digital footprint falls below the 70th percentile. Paying $6,000 to a charismatic internet marketer to teach you how to write action verbs on a piece of paper, or how to send mass, templated connection requests is not just a waste of capital. It is active professional self-sabotage. You are arming yourself with a wooden shield in an era of automated drone warfare. The definitive conclusion of this comprehensive review is that online career counseling, in its current unregulated, mass-market iteration, is a predatory tax levied exclusively on the anxious, the displaced, and the uninformed. To thrive in this exact economic environment, you must radically shift your entire professional paradigm. You must become a sovereign professional. You must treat yourself not as a subordinate employee begging an algorithm for permission to work, but as a highly specialized, lethal consultancy of one. You must identify bleeding corporate arteries, construct undeniable proof of work, and present it directly to the decision-makers holding the budget. This requires absolute operational discipline, rigorous self-education, and a complete, permanent rejection of the comfortable, heavily marketed lies sold by online career strategists. You now possess the comprehensive analytical framework to bypass the predatory coaching industry, circumvent the artificial intelligence gatekeepers, and architect your own high-level career transition using undeniable proof of work. But securing the 6-figure offer and surviving the corporate algorithm is only the foundation of the modern economic battlefield. Once you are fully integrated into the corporate machine, a much darker, systemic financial reality emerges. What is the newly engineered, completely legal corporate taxation strategy sweeping across Fortune 500 companies in late 2026, designed to secretly claw back up to 20% of your negotiated salary through mandatory internal digital ecosystem purchases? And how do you legally structure your initial employment contract to permanently immunize yourself against this invisible wage theft?